Hey there, I'm Garth. I'm the animation tutor. I create a whole bunch of courses and mentorships that are specifically built for students to build their portfolio to get into their top choice animation schools. I've been helping young artists become animators for over 10 years now, and I've gotten over 100 students into colleges like Sheridan, Seneca, Capilano, RISD, SVA, CalArts, Gobelins, and the Animation Workshop in Denmark. I've taught students from all around the globe get into these incredible animation schools, and honestly, it's never hard to get students excited about animation because it's such an incredible medium. So check out my website to see all the courses and mentorships that I offer, or book a meeting with me and I can kind of go through all the different learning resources that we have with you. Thanks for listening and enjoy the student interview.
Hi, Garth.
Hey Juan, how
Listen,
are you?
okay. Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you feeling?
Oh, great. I'm feeling
Yeah.
great. Yesterday I was talking like with a bunch of people uh on like they made a Instagram group and they were talking a lot, so it felt nice to be like part of all of us talking and
Great,
that felt
like
great.
folks that got in this year?
Yeah.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was the moment like when you found out? Where were you and what did it feel
Well,
like?
I think you already know how this year, I mean, like we still haven't gotten the email that says the cutoff, right?
Sure. Yeah.
We haven't. So this year everything was super weird in the timing of like releasing stuff.
Yeah.
And there were like I think there were like three waves of like scores releasing.
Yeah.
And the first wave took everyone by surprise. It was Monday at like 7 something, at 6 something, I believe. And like
Yeah.
we were hoping, like we were thinking that everyone will get the like the results like at that moment. And
Yeah.
then minutes pass and we just figured out all in the Discord being paranoid, or like, oh my God,
Yeah.
some people didn't get anything.
So your whole family
Next,
was around you when you were.
yeah, yeah, no, I got I got in my like results in the third wave.
Oh wow. Okay. So that was the next day?
The next day at almost like kind of evening, like
Okay.
noon.
Wow.
And it was crazy because like the first wave, all of the people got like not all of, but like a bunch of people got accepted.
Yeah.
Then the second wave, like sadly, a lot of people like get rejected. And but
Yeah.
like people that didn't get information were like, oh my God, then what is about us? And also all the internationals were
Okay.
also in the third wave.
Sure.
So it was super weird. But when I
Yeah.
found out, I was just constantly checking. It's like I was about to call the school, and then it popped out in the.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I got it. That's super
Yeah.
crazy, super nice. Yeah.
So the cutoff, it hasn't officially been sent out, but
Mhm.
it's well established that I think the domestic was either
87, 88.
yeah, 88 or
Yeah.
something, and not and the international is 92. And it's
Mm.
interesting because you did fantastic. You got 90, right? Just to double check.
Yeah.
Yeah, 90. And yet they were so much harder marking this year. I don't know if you've like seen
Yeah.
around much, but I've been looking through portfolios like all day, just trying to kind of understand because some of what I thought were some of my like my top students in that
Hmm.
cohort that I was like absolutely sure like 100%. Some of them didn't get they some of them got like 90%, like some of the international ones got like 90, 91. A couple of people are waitlisted at 91 and I'm just like what? Like
Yeah, it felt really hard, like the
yeah.
marking.
Yeah.
I also felt that like looking through all of the people, like I was telling you, I'm with like in the Discord group, in the Instagram, and I have watched all the my colleagues, like all my fellow students, I mean like school friends,
Yeah.
and they all have like common things, I believe. And
Yeah.
animation was graded really nice, I believe, like the animation for people, like the animation assignment.
The short animation. As
Yeah, the
in like
walkie-talkie.
it was what do you mean it was nice? Like it was
I
fluid?
feel I feel it's accurate. I feel my animation
Sure.
is it was nice, and the other people that I believe they had a really nice animation, they got full marks also. That's
Yeah.
like the I and people that got really nice, but has some things that weren't that great, they get like 1 point off or two
Sure.
points, but it
Yeah.
still were good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel it
Yeah.
was graded more like the other years, that
Sure.
not as super harsh like the other things. But well,
Yeah,
it's fine.
absolutely. Well, nonetheless, Juan Carlos, congratulations. This is so great. I
Thank you,
think
man.
this is your second or third time applying.
Well, if we count the appeal thing, is my third. If we don't count it, it's my second.
Second. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And your score was still good last year, right? It was like 80.
87.
Oh yeah,
87.
okay. So that's a good. One thing I'm curious about is I like to hear the context around students a little bit because I remember you had done some education prior. You'd done some film school. So do you want to tell us just a little bbit about what did you do prior to doing this?
Sure, I will like give you a quick like before coming to Canada, I have been here almost 3 years and a half now.
Okay.
And I since the day since the we me and my wife came around COVID, so we had to
Yeah,
like have like a week quarantine thing
sure.
when we arrived because of COVID, of course. We were coming from Cuba.
Hmm.
And during that week in quarantine before coming to like Gabby's house, her parents' house, I decided like in a enlightenment kind of way, I decided to like study animation.
Okay.
The main reason is because like when I was in Cuba, I started film school,
Hmm.
and I also the film school back in Cuba, the one that I attend to at least, they had also like a portfolio kind of thing. Not a portfolio,
Okay.
but more like an entrance exams that is was really hard because
Okay.
you had to have like a really deep knowledge about like film history, film
Sure.
stuff. You had to develop this really quick, short stories around a prompt in front of
Yeah.
teachers.
Hmm.
It wasn't more in like in an in-person stuff. So I
Sure.
did that, and I tried three times. So I'm saying that because like the facing failure
Yeah.
and not able being to entry, I have felt it before doing this portfolio.
Yeah, that's great. So you've already got some thicker skin from those earlier.
But yeah, it doesn't get better. Is you there is like couple hours that you still measure yourself up to that standards, and you compare yourself to what they are um trying to see.
Sure.
I mean that school and also Sheridan,
Yeah.
but I believe that um passing like this first few hours of maybe like fuck, I could have been done better.
Yeah.
If this is my worth and all that stuff. And
Absolutely.
so I think that there's also then can come a little bit of hatred or maybe just anger towards the school
Yeah.
as a thing, or maybe as the teachers, and you picture their faces or something, or imagine how they are like,
Sure.
and like how was their day when they graduated your portfolio and all that stuff.
Or do they
But
have
after that,
some kind of stylistic bias or something like that kind of
exactly,
thing?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, all that kind of stuff. I believe for me, at least for me, after that, I always say it's art.
Yeah.
And we all know is a quality, not a quality like this is good, this is bad. It's more like I vibe with it, I don't vibe with it. It's more like an emotional feeling, gut
Yeah.
thing that you people like trolls movies, or they like
Sure.
Ghibli's, or they like anything,
Yeah.
Spider-Verse or Kubrick's. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that is, we all know, and I believe the teachers they also know that it's not quantifiable, it's not
Yeah.
something that you can measure actually. But otherwise, how do you gonna fill 1,000 applicants in 150 spots? That's impossible
Exactly. I
if we
mean,
don't find a way, even if it's um fail, like not super perfect the way that
yeah,
it's like the filter is built.
sure.
It's the only that this
They
is
need
the
some kind of filter, right?
some kind of
And
filter.
also, way back in the day, there would have been portfolio interviews, right? And some schools still do this, although increasingly rarely. But how awful would that be? Because then that relies so much on your ability to
To social and like
communicate
bunch.
and what if there's some kind of bias or something, or like you mess up on a question because you're just nervous? Like that, it would be so much worse if there was some kind of
And
person interview.
there is a common popular knowledge that artist sensitive people are awkward and
Yeah.
weird. I say it in a good way. I say it in a
Yeah.
good way. Then you're gonna measure someone just because they are not able to articulate a phrase about their
Sure.
art.
Yeah.
I mean,
Better this way.
artists, yeah, yeah, even
Yeah.
let's just say, yeah. So I was back then in Cuba. I tried 3 times. I get in the first time. I only finished completely first year and almost finished second. But
Mm.
then COVID started. I have like a personal stuff that happened in my family.
Mm.
Um, and then around those times, I met Gabby, and we were together. She would come back and forth from Canada. We would stay like in Cuba for years. Then COVID
Okay.
made her stay there, and
Mm.
after that, we just came.
Yeah.
Like we came to Canada. I didn't
Yeah.
finish school,
Yeah.
and but I love filmmaking. I love live action films. I love storytelling with images, all that stuff. Love it.
Yeah.
Like and yeah, just love it. And then I come to Canada, and that first weeks of quarantine, I got kind of sad, melancholic, depressed, whatever, and said like, "Oh my God, I did films with my friends back home, and I'm alone here in the filmmaking aspect of the things. I mean, I could make
Sure.
a movie with Gabby, but like
Yeah.
she has her own graphic design stuff and all that
Sure.
stuff. So I just said to myself, okay, how can I make a movie or a story myself
Hmm.
that involves movement and involves images and colors and light and everything? Well, I have drawn my life uh, back and forth, and I really consider it at the moment like learn from start everything, the basics, what's needed for animation, what's needed for storytelling, animation
Yeah.
way, everything, all that stuff.
Mm.
uh I draw a lot when I was a kid, like a lot. When I was a
Yeah.
kid, like what everyone does. I draw Max Steel. I don't know if you knew Max Steel's the superhero like toys, like these
Sure.
figures.
Yeah.
I draw those guys because I like it, like so muscle, all that stuff. I draw Hot Wheels cars. Like I
Oh,
draw a lot of
sweet.
them. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, like and like a lot of skulls, all that stuff. I draw all that stuff like a really teenage, no more even before teenage years. I
Yeah.
used to draw all that stuff, but at some point when I started drawing like more elaborate things and started drawing more, and my mom saw it,
Mm.
she did what is not what back then maybe wasn't that common. That is, she supported me all the way.
Yeah.
It's way more than even supporting. She notices that I like this thing, and without me saying anything, she said, "Why don't you go to art school?"
Yeah. Wow. That's
To
fantastic. That's
like,
the opposite of so many parents. That's fantastic.
but like life is so weird and life is
Mm.
so difficult that I didn't took it like you will expect.
Yeah.
I for some reason, for whatever reason, I just freaked out, and innerly, I mean, I wasn't super conscious of that at that moment, but I look back and I say, why did I didn't do that? Why didn't I
Sure.
do like pursue what my mom was telling me like to actually pursue?
Yeah.
I believe I have theorized that back then everything becomes so serious about drawing when she said that. Like,
Sure.
oh, school, oh, a career. I do this
Yeah.
for fun. Like
Yeah.
I stopped drawing for a lot of years after that comment of my mom. See, that's
Wow.
so weird.
Wow.
And she
Interesting.
did everything, and she did everything to help me. And
Yeah.
but I didn't, Chris.
Huh.
So okay,
It's nice
after
that you
that,
found
back
your
and
way
forth.
back to it, though.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I found it in a moment that it was really important for me personally to find it. Like
Yeah.
me here, arriving here
Awesome.
after everything has happened back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And interesting with
So
COVID, like you would be isolated, you'd be inside all the time. Like that's actually a great time to cultivate that practice.
actually, I tell people I don't. I mean, I totally understand that people had a really difficult time, but I not consciously, I for me, COVID was this because
Yeah.
I did non-stop drawings and non-stop practicing,
Wow.
non-stop figure drawings, cylinders, boxes in perspective, like thousands and thousands and thousands, like
It's like a
all the way.
mentorship.
Yep,
That's
yep, yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Wow. That's great. Well, let's have a look at your portfolio and we can more of this
Sure,
is going to come out through through seeing
sure.
everything anyway. So
Yeah.
let's have a good look at everything. So first let's have a look at your score sheet while we're here. So okay, so Let's see. So that is a fantastic story, but this is one of the best storyboard marks. I've seen such a wide range of storyboard mark. It's like the biggest. It's funny because it's always the one that everyone's most afraid of, and
Mm.
I would say rightfully so because considering how it just seems it seems the most arbitrary to me, I guess. Like it seems like you said like you felt the short animation was accurately marked. I feel like the
Hmm.
storyboard feels for me the most difficult to guess where it's going to land because I think there are some I don't know, hidden criteria, let's say, that that seems to, but this is fantastic. And your storyboard I know is great. So
I will have a comment on like your theory about storyboards whenever you finish what you're saying.
sure. Well, go ahead. No, jump into it.
I totally agree with you on that, first of all. Second of all, I believe I I was like talking with like some like alumni about my portfolio, my storyboard when it was obvious like the story. When the story was it wasn't super well drawn, but you can see in the sketches that the story
Yeah.
was understood.
Yeah.
More them that they know that this is unfinished work and it will be everything developed and that the
Sure.
essentials is there in the storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah.
And some of them, I don't know if you remember when we opened the storyboard. Some people didn't get that that was a kid or didn't get that he was using like yeah that's the so the bunny, like you remember like the bunny in the first panel, he at some point he had a cape, right?
Yeah.
And he was pretending to fly, landing his chest on a box, and he had a hand holding the box to stabilize himself, like
Sure.
to maintain the pose.
Yeah.
So some people thought that the bunny was delivering the package. That's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. That's one of the aspects that I think
Yeah.
leaving this bias beside,
Sure.
like forgetting bias. That's an aspect, and it's fair enough that it's maybe one of the reasons why this is so difficult, like
Yeah.
to actually get 20%. It's
Totally.
more luck. It's like luck. You need to have a
That
story
they
that
have something that connects to the story that you're
big
telling, or like,
connecting, and not in a like in a heartfelt way, connecting of life experiences, what
yes,
that person has lived. Me, for example,
absolutely.
I just get to be in touch with Amazon packages and DHL 2 years ago. In my
Yeah.
whole life, I would
Huh.
have never seen that before in Cuba. In Cuba, I
Wow.
mean.
Okay.
So that's why I never
So
considered it. And it
interesting.
shocked me. It's like, oh my God, that's what
Yeah.
I mean. Like life experiences is
Hmm.
a lot of life experience are involved in categorizing what's happening on these panels,
Yeah.
I believe.
That's great. That's a really great point. We'll start. We'll just go in order just to kind of have a
Yeah.
look. So I'm kind of this is one of your marks that I was surprised at. One is your eight. Yeah, I don't
I
know
think,
what do you think about it? How do you feel about your 8 out of
I mean,
10?
I think probably the pose like with is difficult. This back pose, if they don't care about me not showing the front, if they don't care about that, I think this is the best, like the best pose that I have.
Sure. Yeah, it is very strong. They don't. I've seen plenty of portfolios with back poses. That I really want to dispel for anyone watching this. I want to dispel that entirely. It does not matter if you have a back pose. No matter which
Okay.
pose you do, it just has to be dynamic. It just has to be good. It needs to be well drawn. Um, Yeah, like this is one of the, I guess for me, it feels like maybe something is going on with this upper torso or in this arm in particular. I like this arm. I like the arm that crosses through the form. This arm up, I'm not even sure exactly. It might feel a little bit small or a little bit more graphic. It seems like if we look down here, if we just zoom into this torso here, super structured. I love the overlaps, nice use of soft and sharp edged lines. And
Hmm.
then up here, if I look at this individually without the context of the rest, I mean, you have this little shoulder overlap here, which is nice to differentiate the anatomy of the arm. But I don't know, something about it feels just a little bit like flimsier in its structure, I guess. But
I think I think that well, I maybe I'm not sure, but I think I messed up the how the torso attaches to that arm in specific. I
Mm,
feel like try to forget that we're seeing that arm in front of it, and let's try to forget like the lower
sure.
part of the torso. That
Yeah.
torso feels like, I don't know. It feels weird. Also, it's like it's more like the biceps is starting
Yeah,
way
it's
back.
something about that, the shoulder to arm connection. I'm not sure what
Yeah,
exactly, but
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
one's wonderful though. I'm again, this one alone, I'm like, wow, 9 out of 10. I guess
And
like these are a little bit tighter. They're a little bit like, and not that the obviously the longer poses are going to be a little more fleshed out and structured and but and a little less fluid. But you can, yeah, I guess you can still keep a degree of looseness that you have here in these longer
that,
ones. And
yeah,
then there's
that's what.
also the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, that's my exactly my opinion on the on
Mm,
why I got lower marks if we take into account these longer poses.
sure.
I believe I got, and that happens to me a lot with long poses. I get too caught up with
Yeah,
details
sure.
and like being super anatomically correct and despair, like super desperate like to be anatomically
Yeah.
correct. And see how you I even added like a little bump. I don't know if it's noticeable, like a little flesh being squashed in the heel on the buttocks on the, yeah,
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
See, that's
sure.
probably unnecessary, and like that's time that I took instead of maybe roughing out the structure
Mhm.
and being more loose and like taking care of line quality, that it will
Sure.
also tell some information of, I mean, yeah, I just
Another
get
thing
too
I'm,
caught up.
yeah, sure. Another thing I'm a little bit unsure of is the size of the two arms. Now, it's hard to portray this totally because obviously we have a degree of foreshortening on her right arm, our left arm. But it does feel like this one is smaller, like in both
Right.
width and length. If I look at those two arms, I'm like, this one is quite a bit bigger. In fact, that arm could very well be the right size, and then this one could be a little too big. It does look a little bit hulking when I look at it compared to the torso. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is a tough pose. You've bitten a lot. There's a lot of internal stuff going on here. So the lengths are hard to compare inherently, but yeah, I don't know. It does, regardless, the rest of these, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah, that
see a
one.
9 out of 10, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember like the my last year's poses. I believe like the longer poses in last years, they had like really complex problems around like
Mm,
the shoulders. You probably don't
sure.
remember. I mean, you have watched so much, but
Yeah.
like they had like problems, more
Okay.
noticeable problems, and I still got
Mm.
like 15 out of 15 or 10 out of 10
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, so that proves it that they're clearly
this
marking better
year.
this year. Yeah.
Yeah, this year. Yeah, yeah,
Let's look at your hands. 9 out of 10 on these, I remember, I think.
yeah. I
That's
don't
great.
even remember.
Yeah, see, this is I
I
have to
wouldn't
say
know.
I always have a hard time deciding between 9s out of 10s and 10s out of 10s. That
Yeah,
to me personally it feels like that is that subjective preferential sort of reservation of the portfolio reviewers where I
right.
look at this and like I'm like I don't know. This is really good. It's nice and clean. You've added the structure underneath. Like I
And I like, actually hands were one of the things that I repeated the most. Like
yeah,
I draw them and redraw them because a lot of people notice stuff. Like you notice a lot of
sure.
stuff, like with the pinky.
Yeah,
I remember,
yeah. That's still one
and
area that I'm curious about in terms of the size, but I
yeah,
I don't know. Overall, it looks really good. Like they really connect nicely too. Like,
you know, I don't know if like talking about the subjective part, I don't know if that matters, or I have seen like
mm,
throughout the most, you probably know an exception. I'm really sure you have seen so many portfolios,
yeah,
but like I have watched like the portfolios that have like full marks on hands,
yeah,
and normally they have way more structure, way
mm,
more contour lines, like
sure.
way more,
So
and
overdo
they,
it rather than underdo it in terms of that.
yeah, I
Yeah,
feel that like it's not even like, sometimes it's not even maybe a lot of contour, but like the divisions and the lines that
mm,
compound like the divisions of the fingers are
yeah,
way more obvious and less realistic. I mean,
sure.
I'm not the one to say that my hands are really realistic, but I feel that way. Like I
Yeah,
feel that if like you super exaggerate, like maybe make this really fatty here and then this really fatty here and this really fatty,
sure.
and then
Yeah,
this really big bump, then
yeah,
it's more obvious that there is a division there.
sure.
And I don't
Yeah.
know if I explain myself, but like
I no,
I
I do.
feel
I
that.
agree with that. It's funny because you can go on the other end. If you follow that too far, you'll end up in the deep end of.
Yeah.
There's an artist book out there by Bern Hogarth about hands, and it has these super muscled hand, and you can see all these little. There's so much structure that it's actually ridiculous. I always compare it to like a wild horse or something with all of its huge
Oh,
muscles because it feels
muscles.
like that.
Yeah.
But there
Yeah.
is something that you're saying of exaggerating the structure a little bit. A little bit. There's a range that's nice that you want to land within in terms of how much structure you extrapolate from it. But it does require you to overemphasize a little bit, especially when we're
Yeah.
talking about animation. So yeah, I think that's totally fair. Uh,
Probably, yeah.
let's see. I think character isn't it, or what is it? Character, and yeah, it's character. Oh, this guy. You got perfect on this one, if I'm correct, or
No, 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 no,
13. Wow. Okay. So again, so what I've noticed this year is that even if I can spot so little, like we went through this character so many times, and there's so few, like the inconsistencies are so minor that
Yeah.
I think this year more than others, they're marking straight up design, like what they like in terms of design, just what they like, what they think is good design. Like, and that is a subjective consideration, right? That is like you could be 100% consistent. So what is there left to mark at the end of it? Their favorite designs versus their lesser favorite designs, and what encapsulates
A
favorite
favorite
design.
design? I don't know.
That's it, right? Like I personally like if I know that we've kind of said this a lot, but if this was a previous year, this is a 15 out of 15 character one. Like I don't know what is if not this. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know either. I
yeah,
really don't know.
it's confusing. There was one student last year that had a similar dynamic where I was like, oh, this is a perfect character, and it got like 12 out of 15. I'm like, okay, well, that
Uh,
person didn't like your character, I guess. Like, but nonetheless, I love this. He's a conquistador, Spanish
hmm
conquistador. So I
hmm
think it's nice that it involved some like storytelling and history. I always like historical
Yeah.
characters because it means that you had to do a little bit more research than just kind of
Yeah. There is
whatever
a
comes
lot
to
of
mind.
reference obvious being done there.
Yeah, awesome. Let's see. I just want to, what was your mark
No, full
there?
marks. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, right on. So one thing that I really want to emphasize for anyone watching this is you have, this is one thing that I always try to encourage students to do. And I think I might have mentioned from a previous student's portfolio, like basically you can caricature both the structure of the object, but also the timing can be caricatured. It can be exaggerated to an animation level of timing, right? It's not just you're not just moving a physical object. That's much easier to do. What you've done here excellently is you have given it this kind of almost like Looney Tunesy feeling to it, where it's like whoop, whoop. It has this nice like fluid motion.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing this early on. And I was like, whoa, it almost seems like too fast. But then when you see it all flow, you're like, no, that's just animation timing. That's fantastic. So how do you feel about this one?
I love my animation walkie-talkie.
Good for you.
Man,
Yeah.
I do, I do. Is the thing is, and also I really enjoyed. I mean, I enjoyed something coming to life that way, something like
Yeah.
being understood, like that
Sure.
another person. That happens to me also with the storyboard, but like we will talk about the storyboard later. But
Mm,
like I love that I am doing something and you are able to actually understand. It's not like a drawing. The drawing, you see it, and it's mostly most of the times there is also, if it's really complex, there is also a like a percentage of understanding it or not understanding it.
yeah.
But mainly it's more like wow or or
Yeah.
nice. It's more like
Mm,
this is more like uh-huh. Oh, so he's jumping and then he's looping. It's a lot of things that the other
yeah.
human brain needs to understand, and that
Sure.
transmit that. I love
Yeah.
it.
And one thing I also
And
want to emphasize with this just quickly is that your antenna, this is cool because some people have like a heavy antenna that like
mhm.
flops back, but yours has this like I love when it first lands after the second jump. It
Boing.
has this like almost like a door stopper that you can, those door stoppers, and it's like has this like,
Door stoppers.
yeah, I don't know, some doorways and houses have this little thing and it makes such a loud noise. It's kind of older houses that have this, but it has a real tight spring on it. And yours has that, it has a rigid, that little antenna, it's not loose, it's not flopping around. It's got this like tight rigidity to it. So I love that too, that you have a degree of choice within this to make that antenna be very fluid and flopping around, or just really tight and like attached to it like a metal spring. And you went for the
It's
latter.
related. It's related to what you were saying about exaggeration. I decided to exaggerate some of the frames. If you pause it, so people might see it. There are some frames
Mm.
like now when he falls, he's this really stretched walkie-talkie. So I decided to exaggerate that, and I decided to exaggerate the timing, as you said. But then I also decided to make a really realistic antenna, a metal antenna on a walkie-talkie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how would it behave, that antenna, metal antenna? How would it behave?
Yeah.
Like point, it will return to normality really quick because it's sturdy. And
Sure.
it's a balance of being realistic and a balance of exaggeration that I
Yeah.
found that really liked doing this.
Yeah.
I even like exaggerate the button, and that's super weird. That wouldn't happen in
Yeah.
a realistic manner. The button
Yeah.
is like
No, that's excellent. That's another thing that I want to mention is that if we look at individual flames or frames rather, we can see the fluidity of the object. It is not a rigid form. It is in animation, there is all of the power to you to make it more fluid, more weird, contorted. The perspective doesn't make sense. In individual frames, no problem, as long as the movement itself works. And I think that is a really important thing. Like a metal object wouldn't do any of this, but that is the deal that we need to like look at this one. Like it's so, you
super
know,
weird.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
all about like
yeah.
the consideration of that weight. So really excellent job. This is gonna go in our past student page for sure for excellent animations because yeah, just great work. I believe storyboard is next. So let's have a close look at this. So 18 out of 20, I remember because that is again, fantastic storyboard mark. One thing I've noticed this year, I just want to mention right off the bat, is that a lot of people did money related. So what was the thing again? It was opportunities don't just happen, you make them. A lot of students interpreted that as business, money. I'm going to do something and make a lot of money. And I'm not sure universally if this was if this was regarded negatively, but I have several students that did that, and I've seen other students' portfolios that did that and they didn't like that as much. They wanted something like this that was more hands-on. Money is a symbol. Money is like it's less visual.
Money is maybe a result that we don't need to see in the story of your hard work.
Yeah.
Like more like that. Like
It's a symbolic accumulate like whereas this is so visual. Like it's so like, oh, I'm gonna make something and we're gonna visually see that and we're gonna
and
see the emotional change of those characters at the beginning and end. I
and
think
I
that's
what really made me, I had really difficult time staying with the story. I come with a couple. I don't know if you
sure.
remember, there was this one that the guy tried to enter a museum just for the fancy of entering a museum and seeing
Yes.
it.
Sure.
So my stories, like I like them, and then I understood by feedback that it wasn't feasible for like this specific assignment.
Yeah.
And what made me stay with this one is that I love the idea of that the protagonist is making an opportunity for his friend.
Yes.
Like it's not even for him to.
Mm,
He's not creating even something for him. He's creating
sure.
something for someone else that is not able to see. Like the complexity of like there is a character that know what he wants, but he doesn't come up with idea of how to make it happen.
Sure.
But this guy is noticing from afar that he knows how to do it, and he will just do it for him,
Sure. Yeah.
and he does it, and they fight
Yeah.
together. I love that it
That's great.
involves two like characters
Yeah.
to make this
Yeah.
story happen.
I remember we talked about like what was the resolution? Was it that like originally I remember there was this we were talking for a while about like having them like land somewhere in a beautiful area or like they left the city,
Sunset on
they're
a
at the
beach.
beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we're like, you know what? We don't actually need to have that much of a transition. We can just have them having a lot of fun. The birds are up there. It's a joyous scene. They've left the surrounding. That's good enough. We don't need to get them that far. We don't need to have arrived. We just need to see the resolution
The
of that
birds
plan.
help a lot. And what helped me, this is maybe a good advice for everyone seeing this. Like what helps me a lot is naming the panels in regard to story. So
Yeah.
I name them. I said first one, I call them, I believe I call them desire. That's the
Mm,
that's that's the name of that panel. So
yeah.
everything being constructed on that panel has to, like a first priority, respond to that name. So
Yeah.
desire. For desire to happen, this character, the bunny, he needs to be watching the birds. And
Sure.
from like learning from school, when you decide the beginning, you already need to build the end. You
Yeah.
need to jump right at the end, so you
Yeah.
make a circle. And at
Sure.
the end, well, not always, but it's a good strategy, a good formula to these short stories to think that way. So
Yeah.
I believe if desire is being used with the pigeons, then the resolution of him, the end result is uh, flying. That's the name of the fourth panel. So
Yeah.
if the fourth panel is flying, the name, then like the bunny flying, acquiring his desire, like getting to fulfill his desire, then pigeons appear again, and
Yeah.
that is the pigeons are the symbol that make this story like
That's great.
maybe more understandable.
It's nice to have that motif, honestly, because there's the contrast at the beginning that you've set up between the land figures and the
Exactly,
airborne,
exactly.
and in the end they're merged. Wow. Yeah, there's so much to this. It's really great. And also one thing I want to bring up too is that first of all, we see very different angles of the fox than what they give you. That's super important because I found
That
some
was
people
really
were
hard.
picking like the same exact poses, and I'm like, no, that's the whole point. Like they don't want you to just choose exactly what they've given you. You gave it back three-quarter view. That's an ambitious pose. That's hard for the fox, but it works. And also your poses are not, there's a good amount of negative shapes in them, so that lends itself to animation. We don't have poses that are too internal with all the forms inside those bodies, so inside the silhouettes. You have some nice external poses. Yeah, it's great. Again, I had a
That's
lot of confidence in this storyboard.
I found like following that in like the thinking of the beginning and the end to make it circle, you will always find that the second and third panel regarding story are the most difficult ones, but not
Yeah,
only in my case with this assignment, it didn't also necessarily only happen
yeah,
with in regards to story, but also on how to tell them. Talking about like what you were saying about the different shots, I
yeah,
struggle a lot to find what were the exact shots for those second and third panel,
sure.
because I already knew that the angle being lower down, him looking at his desire, it has to be like a low horizon angle,
Yes.
and the fulfillment and the
Nice.
openness of everything at the end had to be a wide angle. So
Yeah,
those are two shots that I cannot use again.
yeah.
Then I need to
Fantastic.
come with the rest shots for the second and third. It was really hard.
Yeah.
What I feel really like proud of this work, but I also really about like the storytelling aspect of it. But I
Hmm.
also like a lot, and I did it thanks to your help also. Like the unmodeledness of this character. I
Yeah.
am so proud of that. I really
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
about this.
That's a good thing to mention too, for sure. Nice. Okay. Layouts.
Mhm.
So how did you better have gotten close to perfect on the, yeah. Okay. You lost 2 marks. I see. I don't know. I just like
Me neither.
this layout, but by multiple opinions. I remember you did the extensive shared portfolio review where we had some of my past students mark this. Everyone universally loved this. Like everyone
Not
was
only
like,
and even though like the guys in the Sheridan Instagram group that I told you about, they when I like we were sharing portfolios, and the thing
"Hmm,
and that surprised me, but like the thing that people most like were also these
yeah,
layouts. They
yeah,
literally liked it. So
yeah." I
I don't
don't
know.
know what the heck Sheridan was marking, but I don't think it was this. So Um, yeah, this is wonderful. This is also just a wonderful example of set dressing. I just want to mention because like there are 1,000 ways that you could have chosen to show a photography studio. Um, but the way that you put objects in the space tells us the story of the character that uses that space, right? So And I think like when we see this guy, like he's a seal, right? Or like a
Mm,
or
like a mole. Yeah, but
oh, a mole. Okay. So yeah, okay. He would have flippers, of course. What am I talking about? Okay, sure. Oh yeah, because he's a blind mole. I remember talking about this. Yeah, he's a mole
yeah,
he's
yeah.
doing photography, which is so
Yeah.
funny. So
Yeah.
yeah, like he's the perfect kind of gruff, sort of crusty character that would have like there's some degree of organization, but there's also like disorganization on top of things, which I really like. There's like all this objects and things placed up above and on the tops of things, but then he keeps his main workspace clear. So I think that's just really fun and it tells a wonderful story about this character. And then in your second layout, of course, then we see him out in the field doing his thing, and I'm like, what? I don't know. Like, what were the marks? I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know.
know.
They're just marking a
You
real
know
hard
what?
this year.
Yeah, I got in and I'm really proud of like these two layouts and I really like
Yeah.
that people enjoy them.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Like
Close the book.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
but like regarding to future students, I don't know. Like no, we don't actually know like how will they mark you. I think you and the people that help you, being Garth or anyone that will like help you out.
Mm.
Um, you need to feel confident that you are doing a really hard work and that things are turning out to be good,
Yeah.
and then release it and let
Yeah.
it go.
Yeah. And then it's not yours anymore in a way, right? It's
Yeah,
to the wild.
yeah,
One thing that I do
yeah.
want to mention that I'm kind of shocked I didn't catch this, but okay,
Hmm.
if we just look closely at this for a second, we see if we
Hmm.
see these two squirrels, we see the back view of this squirrel here, right? And then the front
Hmm.
view of this one. So
Oh,
if we look at where the trees are, this tree over here is clearly quite a bit closer actually than this one over there. And yet we see the back of that character. So and even if we look at the structure of that branch, it actually does look a little bit like we're looking like you see what I mean? Like it would almost make more sense for them to be flipped, for the squirrel to be facing I mean, whatever. But this
oh,
tree, this
yeah.
lighter gray tree definitely looks quite a bit further away. This one's
It
right in
is.
the
It is.
foreground, right?
It is.
So
It
there is
is.
this kind of
That
dynamic, but that two
that.
marks, no, like maybe one mark, but yeah, I don't know. What were you gonna say?
But I also like. Yeah, I see what you mean, and you're totally true. Like, correct. That tree on the right is farther away,
Yeah.
but and I believe it didn't is it, at the end I wasn't able to actually convey that, but that branch from the squirrel on the left, it's supposed to be going
Oh,
in the end
going in
but
the
also returning to the to
sure.
us. But
Yeah.
also I noticed that look at the feet on the right squirrel's right and yeah, left squirrel's leg. Look at that, what's happening there. It's weird, like how
Hmm.
he's on the branch. I don't think that's a
Sure.
mark,
Yeah,
but
no, I don't
well.
think so. But
And
me, yeah, I don't know.
what, like
Good
the other thing I
question.
wanted to say, like about like what you noticed. I don't know if that specific thing of the trees being one more far than the other,
Yeah.
those 2 points,
Yeah.
that would say that they stay quite a long time looking at this. Wouldn't you
That's
say?
true. That's
I
true.
thought that they look at this really quickly,
Maybe, yeah, I would think so too. I guess it
but
depends.
maybe yeah, maybe at some moment they actually look at things for a more time and then they will notice that, and that
Yeah.
may be are a mark or 2 marks. Yeah,
One
I
thing
don't know.
that might have allowed them to spot that a little sooner was your value gradation that you gave it, right? Because there's the darker tree
Yeah,
and then the lighter tree. So, I mean, that's
yeah.
pretty standard, right? Foreground darker, background lighter as you go back and you get that nice atmospheric feeling to it. So you did
Yeah,
kind of spell it out to them that
yeah.
like that one's back there.
I screw myself.
Maybe. I mean, that to
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
that's not two marks. That's maybe one mark, but nonetheless,
Right.
let's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I think we're at personals, right? So let's go through it one by one. Um, which one is this? This is your
Oh,
sketchbook. Oh, awesome. Yes, I love this page. I think this is a wonderful page of your sketchbook. Nice. Yeah, I like how you had a good range of different things, good range of sort of stylistic influence. Some more like realistically rendered, but a lot of good storytelling throughout. Oh, and some exploration with medium, which is actually
Yeah.
more rare. I remember looking at some of these and I'm like, oh, this is a Gobelins portfolio.
Yeah.
Because they're always a little more like explorational. But yeah, like the even in your realistic renders, it has this great caricature quality to it. And then there's some more straight observational stuff, different mediums. All traditional, I can tell, I think, right? I haven't
Yeah.
spotted
Yeah.
anything
Yeah. Yeah.
too
Everything is
cool.
traditional.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, so great sketchbook work. And honestly, I think they really like traditional sketchbook work. I know like some students I know will throw some digital work in, and that's fine. I've
Yeah.
seen that do totally well too. But they do really like when students have held on to their classical like the classical traditions of art as well. They haven't completely
Yeah.
divorced themselves from that. They are very much a part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, nice work. Um, okay. Nice. I like a little description. Like again, you don't necessarily know that they're like gonna read all of it, but if they
Yeah.
want a little context, it's there for them, right? It's not gonna hurt you, that's for sure. And you got perfect, or no, you lost one mark on your personal?
Yeah. I lost
One
one
mark.
mark.
Huh, okay. Um, nice. Yeah. Oh, this is great. Yeah, pretty fun. That's some hard hair to establish in a
Yeah. I
sculpture.
don't. I don't actually like the hair. I will change it at some point probably.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because the name of the of the person is supposed to be the arc, like the bow.
Yeah.
We were so tired that we translated from Spanish and like the arc.
Oh, I see. Oh, I love this
Yeah.
one. This is one that I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just felt like a very clever story. I like your little presentation too. You've thought about this page and the texture is kind of consistent through the text and the
Yeah.
little graphics along the side. So nicely presented, like really clean, well presented work. The concept art behind this story. And again, a little description, again, can't hurt. It's always nice to include a little bit. Um, I love this. This is if I remember seeing this one, this was the first one I saw of this whole section, and
Yeah.
I really like the texture and the kind of the playfulness of the style. It has like a playfulness and exploration that I see more rarely for sure. Like this is more unique in that. So it does feel like a short film concept that is a bit more distinct, maybe even more abstract and conceptual in a way, which
Yeah. Yeah.
not a bad thing. And these are very clear storyboards too. So that's great. You're not trying to overcomplicate things with details or anything. So a nice little like this is a great example of a sort of pitch package in a sense, which I'm always encouraging students to do. But it's contained. It's not like 30 pages. It's just 4 pages of nice, concise.
I actually don't have like much prop or environment design stuff.
Yeah,
If I had time, I would done some of that also. But
sure. Yeah. What's this one? Oh yeah. Yeah, cool. This is great. Very meta. For anyone that's done an art residency, all the kind of characters that you might find at an art residency. That's great. Really dynamic, interesting characters. Oh, cool. Wow. So you've actually you did a fair amount of sculpture. Oh, all in all.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
You even painted this one. Awesome. So just nice, concise double pager here.
Yeah.
And then what's this one?
That's from like one of my short films back in film school. Like, but that's
Okay.
like parts of it.
Sure. Yeah, I remember you took like parts of it to just highlight so that you didn't have the whole thing
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like some storyboards from back then.
Yeah. That's great. It's nice to have the fade on storyboards of the different scenes. And then
Yeah.
wow, really nice. How the storyboard fades to the film.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Nice. Great.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen this so many times now. You're like, I am ready to do some
No,
more.
I try to imagine how you are seeing it and like I enjoy it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. There is so many things that you would understand just because like it's so Cuban.
Oh yeah.
Not yeah, not on this, like on the actual film.
Oh sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh nice. Yeah. It's great how true some of those storyboards are to the final shot.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We went because all of those places are either on my house or like right on the corner that there was like a running field
Sure.
that is open to everyone. And
Yeah.
then we go on location and like shoot a lot of stuff and then I draw it and then I
Okay.
did the yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of students are not going to have. It's like an actual live
Yeah.
action shot film. So that's great to just differentiate yourself. Oh yeah. I wonder where this one came from. This was a so we've been working together for a couple of years, I guess now, Juan. So this was actually a
Yeah.
project that I hired you to help me with for
Yeah.
one of my freelance clients, which does occasionally happen where I'll bring on some students to help. And it was so great that you just jumped right into this because you
Yeah.
did a good bulk of the animation of it actually. And yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. And you didn't even say that it was like a professional commissioned work. You just said it was
No,
project.
no.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. I mean, either way, it
I
does feel like it's for something, I guess, but that's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Great. Oh yeah, I watched this. This is fun. I think I only saw little bits and pieces of this. It was nice that you I think you looped it once or twice to kind of
Yeah.
let them
Yeah.
see it. That's
Hmm.
always good. And it's also nice that you have time and space in this. It's a little movement, but you take your time and you let the character actually think through it. I think sometimes because because animation is so damn laborious, really, a lot of students want to rush through the action. They have a moment, and I love this too, by the way. A great way to show a sculpture is an actual like video or turntable with lots of images. But yeah, like it's nice that you take the time to allow the character to sort of think and realize it, and that's so important. It's like anyone that has acted or like has seen films and has thought about them deeply, you'll know that characters need time to like for things to digest and for them to react to it. There's occasionally an action-packed scene where they have to act quickly and but not
Yeah.
every scene in a movie is action-packed. There's a lot of scenes where they hear noise and then they look and then they
That
look.
has to do
Yeah,
that has to do with like what are my like preferences. I tend
yeah,
to like more to when I can see what's happening inside someone than like how they actually
sure.
if I can that comes from my love to like I've live action films but like
Yeah,
dramas and like really all that stuff. But
sure.
also I did this because I acted out. I
Yeah.
placed a camera and I did
Great.
that action myself and I
Awesome.
tried to figure out how would I think. I mean, if I want to put this petal back on my flower on my
Yeah.
head, I wouldn't go like
Yeah,
it's like that makes
exactly.
no sense.
You
I
need
need to
some
like
time.
okay, I need to think what I need to show what I'm thinking of what I plan to do. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Excellent. Wow. Well, great portfolio, Juan.
thank you.
Let's get to the questions now. So if you could do the whole thing again, what do you think? What would you
I
do differently?
will I will do first. The thing is I will probably do an easier, just because of time management, I will do an easier shape character rotation.
Sure.
So I think a egg shape would have done it if I make it appealing, not super
Yeah.
complex,
Yeah.
and the rotation is perfect.
Yeah. Sure.
Um, I will do that again more easily, and I also like I would do again my figure drawings. Like the
Sure.
thing is that what I found, and maybe this helps someone with there is like I divided by short and long poses. My problem with long poses is that well, even though that they are asked to be structured and anatomical correct and proportions correct,
Mhm.
there is a way that you can even go way too much. Like
Yeah.
and you get too fixated on that.
Yeah. It's
So
too much of a
I
contour drawing, not as much of like feeling out the form and still maintaining a sense of gestural movement in it, I think.
so I will do that again, taking that into account and being not so desperate about like the anatomical correctness. or
Sure.
the silhouette telling the anatomic features so
Mhm.
correctly. I
Yeah.
will try more simple things, maybe relating
Sure.
that, and focus on like line quality, like maybe
Yeah.
giving it a line quality that is more appealing. And
Yeah.
regarding the short poses is a really complex thing. I don't know, like everyone, even super professional said that figure drawing is something, gesture drawing is something that is quite complex.
Yeah.
And even though you are super experienced, you may have, it's not my case, of course, but like if you are super experienced, you still may have a bad day of drawings, gestures, because
Sure.
I don't know, it's hard. So what I would do for a portfolio is, if I do it again, is I will try, because when I do gestures for practicing, I might not finish a foot because I
Yeah.
really like how the form
Yeah.
was and how accurate I tilted the head. And
Sure.
I tend to not finish because I see it as practice and I don't care about the foot.
Yeah.
I will do my practice, finish the
Whole
whole
body.
drawing, make it neat,
Mhm.
forget about the portfolio and just practice, but my practice has to be neat. And
Yeah.
when I do that practice, I will find, after I do like 1,000 gesture drawings, I will find the two gestures that need to go to the portfolio between those practices.
Yes.
Whether if I do my gestures thinking of the box that is a portfolio, I will
Yeah.
get too desperate and I will get too
Sure.
ah, and I would not like anything at all,
Yeah.
because I see it as an end. I see it as a goal, and I get too
Sure.
pressured, and I don't work. But that's what happens to me. Maybe
Okay.
someone works better under pressure.
Yeah.
So I will do again rotation and figure drawings.
Sure. Okay. And was there some advice that someone gave you that was like critical to your portfolio?
Real, you were the person that gave me more advice, but like
Yeah.
if I think of everyone that give me advices and try
Mhm.
to compile it in one single advice or branches of advices that are related to the same topic, I
Sure.
think taking really good care of volumes, proportions and perspective. Those
Sure.
things, those things, that like the foundations of drawing.
Yeah.
I tend to overlook, because I know how I want things to look at and how detailed I want them to look at and how
Yeah.
realistic I want them to be. So I
Sure.
forget about those things and I don't
Mhm.
take care of those things.
Yeah.
So being focused on volume, perspective, proportions,
Yeah.
silhouette also, like the
Yeah.
silhouette on this, for example, on
Yeah,
this,
exactly.
and the storytelling of that silhouette.
Hmm.
Those things were the ones, and also in the silhouette on here, I get a feedback from a student in Sheridan that helped me a lot.
Great.
Um, the silhouette also, like those foundational basic principles, taking really good care and watching them done, like
Yeah.
step them.
Great. Okay. And do you feel like there was anything in your portfolio that gave you an edge up on the composite competition?
Well, we don't know how that actually works, but like I would say my animation. I would
Yeah.
say my, even though the mark is low, I would say my layouts.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
again, that is a forever
and
mystery to me, but nonetheless, I also
yeah,
think your layouts are like some of your strongest, but whatever.
and for sure my personal, like
Yeah.
I love my sketchbook, my traditional sketchbook. I
Yeah.
love my animation. I love my pitch Bibles. I like it,
Great.
all of it.
Yeah. And it's
My
very, very
sculptures
unique for sure. Like you have a unique
is
personal
varied,
work section. Yeah,
and it's like a lot of things varied, and I like that.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Great.
that.
And the last one, with unlimited resources and staff at your disposal, what would be the animated production that you would make one day?
Well, I actually wrote like a really quick list that I will tell you about.
Sweet.
So because at the beginning I understood with limited resources, so I answered
Oh.
that. But then I read again and it's like unlimited. So
Yeah.
I would probably do an hour and a half kind of super production. It's like a normal length movie, not like these days movies that are like 3 hours, 2 hours, but
Yeah.
more short, to
Sure.
focus on like storytelling and like super production with like Otomo, like the creator from Akira,
Okay.
like that kind of detailed backgrounds. I would take that from him. I would probably do like all Disney character animation,
Very
like
fluid and
yeah, and with that, but with the acting of the live action, with the really my most beloved live performances, actions on live action movies, like I don't know, work from Daniel Day-Lewis, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Meryl Streep, like that
oh,
really deep.
music to my
Yeah,
ears. Yeah, I love Daniel
yeah,
Day-Lewis and Philip Seymour
like
Hoffman are also fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, like subtext acting, like what the body's and faces and eyes being more honest than like words, like that
Yeah.
type of acting.
Yeah.
And a storytelling that comes from me, from images that I created when I read the most beautiful books that I like the
Great.
novels that I like.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Wow. That's
something
a great
that
answer.
above all else, I will repeat the obvious under a different light or perspective, so the audience don't take anything for granted. Like
Yeah.
make little things matter a lot.
Great.
Yeah,
That's wonderful. Just to nerd
yeah,
out for a minute about acting.
yeah.
One thing that I find, because I'm also a huge fan of live action and like, and I really encourage students to like watch widely and like look at the best lists and like look at why, try to understand why they are that way. Because yeah, people like Daniel Day-Lewis, even Joaquin Phoenix, like there's so many actors out there that are great in dealing with like when you see them act, you can see this entire internal world that and with often some friction in that world, that some inner conflict, some kind of
You see
like,
the trouble. You see them.
oh yeah, they're not okay, like they're dealing with stuff, but they're like for example, There Will Be Blood or like The Master
Mm,
or something like
the bowling, yeah, the bowling
yeah.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah. And even the
You
scene
drink
where
my milkshake.
yeah. And then there's one scene earlier where he talks about how he doesn't like people. It's like watching this villain become a villain because he talks to his what this character convinces him that he's his brother, but he's actually well, anyways, we won't reveal anything.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis is like, I don't really like people, and I'm just trying to kind of take advantage. And he has this really like scathingly honest scene, and you just see his face and you're just like, wow,
Yeah,
this
para
is
the,
like a horrible being, but also there's a shade of like, but I understand, I don't need to like him, I need to understand his motivation. And I
and I
think
also
that's
feel more.
critical.
I also thought of more in that scene and in the scene like when he's talking with like he's dealing with drinking with his boy, like with his child. I
Yeah.
relating those two scenes like he has a shade of like he's being honest about it, but also at the
Yeah.
same time the way he delivers that those phrases,
Yeah.
I feel, but maybe it's my experience, but like I feel that there is a I need to believe this
Yeah.
that I'm saying because I if I don't, I will screw everything in my life and everything will
Absolutely.
be a lie. Everything will
Yeah.
be for no purpose at all. So I need to say it
Absolutely.
this way so bluntly because I need to believe in myself. So
Yeah.
really good that actor,
Yeah.
really good, really
Yeah. Oh man, we should have a
good.
separate
Yeah.
interview just nerding out about movies.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. We
anyways,
should.
we're at an hour here. So wow.
Yeah,
Thanks
yeah,
for
yeah.
the incredible interview, Juan. This is so great. I was
Thank you,
really
man.
looking forward to this and super psyched that you're going to Sheridan next year. And honestly, I can't wait to see the kind of stuff that you make. So yeah,
Yeah.
keep up
Thank
the
you so
good
much.
work and
Thank you,
yeah,
man.
take care.
You're the best.
All
Bye bye.
right. See ya.
Bye.